You know the feeling, that restless itch that crawls under your skin when there's nothing to do. You tap your foot, you reach for your phone, you scroll, you refresh, anything to escape the silence. Boredom feels like wasted time, like life draining away in slow motion. But what if I told you that this feeling, the very one you've been trained to avoid, might be the birthplace of your hidden genius? Because here's the truth nobody ever told you. Boredom is not emptiness. It's not laziness. It's a signal, a spark your brain lights when it's ready to go deeper. Throughout history, boredom has been the silent companion of breakthroughs. From Newton under an apple tree to Einstein staring into space, the world's greatest minds discovered that boredom isn't an obstacle, it's a portal, and by the time you finish this video, you'll never see boredom the same way again. You'll know how to turn that uncomfortable silence into the very thing that sharpens your creativity, unlocks your insight, and gives you an edge most people will never discover. Miss this, and boredom will keep being your enemy, when it was always your greatest ally. Our modern aversion to boredom. You live in the noisiest age in human history. Every gap, every pause, every crack of silence is immediately plastered over with stimulation. Waiting for the elevator? You check your notifications. Standing in line for coffee? You scroll. Even in the bathroom, you carry a screen as if the mere presence of unoccupied time is unbearable. But here's the uncomfortable fact. This isn't an accident. You've been conditioned. Apps are engineered to hijack your attention, drip-feed dopamine, and keep you from ever experiencing stillness. And the consequence is devastating. Your mind has been trained to fear its own company. In 2014, researchers asked participants to sit quietly in a room for just 15 minutes with no distractions. That's it, 15 minutes. Most of them hated it. Many confessed they would rather do literally anything else. But here's the shocking twist. A significant portion of people chose to give themselves electric shocks, actual pain, rather than endure boredom. Think about that. You live in a time where silence feels more threatening than pain, where a generation has been rewired to treat boredom as a sickness, a void to escape at all costs. And yet in doing so, you've severed yourself from the very state of mind where creativity, problem-solving, and insight are born. You can feel the evidence in your own life. How many times have you tried to brainstorm but found yourself refreshing social media instead? How many times have you told yourself you're too busy to think deeply, when in reality you're just afraid of that awkward silence? This is the paradox of your age. You crave originality but sabotage the very conditions that create it. You want the breakthrough without the boredom. But here's the truth you can't avoid. Without boredom, your genius starves. And the more you escape it, the further you drift from the part of your mind that could change everything. What boredom really is. You've been taught to see boredom as the absence of meaning. A blank page, a dead zone. But that's a lie. Boredom isn't nothing. It's a message, a signal. Your mind's way of saying, this isn't enough. I'm hungry for more. Think of hunger. When your stomach growls, you don't call it laziness. You don't panic and say, something's wrong with me. You recognize it as a natural drive, the body demanding nourishment. Boredom works the same way, but instead of food, it hungers for meaning. This is why the moments you label boring are often the very moments your brain is searching, stretching, reaching for deeper stimulation. That itch, that restlessness, it's the call to grow. But because you misinterpret it as emptiness, you run from it. You drown it in entertainment. And every time you do, you silence the very mechanism designed to lead you to insight. Imagine boredom as a compass. The needle swings wildly when you're stuck in shallow waters, pointing you toward depth, novelty, discovery. The reason it feels uncomfortable is the same reason a compass needle resists being forced. It's pulling you toward truth. Look at children. A child left alone without toys doesn't stay bored for long. They invent games, stories, entire worlds out of thin air. Boredom doesn't paralyze them. It activates them. The difference is you've forgotten how to follow that signal. You've been taught to medicate it instead of listening to it. And here's the twist most people never realize. Boredom isn't passive. It's not your brain shutting down, it's your brain winding up, quietly reorganizing, sorting, asking, what matters here? What could be built? What's worth attention? It's a hidden engine revving in the background, preparing you for a leap. When you reframe boredom this way, it stops being a void to escape and becomes a tool to embrace. A drive, a hunger, a compass pointing to your next frontier. The real question is, will you follow it or will you keep numbing it until it disappears? The default mode network, DMN. When you think of genius, you probably imagine someone furiously scribbling equations, painting for 12 hours straight, or obsessively working at a desk. You picture intensity, not stillness. But neuroscience tells a different story. When you're bored, when you're not focused on any specific task, your brain doesn't shut down. In fact, a powerful system comes online, the default mode network, or DMN. This network activates when you let your mind wander. It links scattered thoughts, revisits past memories, and simulates possible futures. It's the backstage crew of your mind, stitching together fragments of experience into something new. And it's here, in this hidden state, that your most creative connections are made. Consider this. When researchers studied brain activity during periods of rest, they found something astonishing. The DMN lit up in ways similar to when people were solving complex problems. In other words, your brain is doing its deepest work precisely when it looks like you're doing nothing. That's why so many of your best ideas strike when you're showering, driving, or walking without purpose. You didn't think your way there. Your DMN handed you the connection. That's incubation in action. Your unconscious mind delivering what your conscious mind couldn't force. Here's the paradox. The very state you avoid, boredom, is the doorway to activating the DMN. But every time you fill the silence with scrolling, every time you escape into cheap stimulation, you slam that door shut. You trade the genius of deep connection for the sugar rush of shallow distraction. Think of your brain like an orchestra. When you're hyper-focused on tasks, you hear only one instrument at a time. But when the DMN takes over, the full symphony begins. Memories, emotions, questions, and possibilities blending into harmony. That harmony is where insight is born. This is the uncomfortable link no one told you. Boredom isn't wasted time. It's the secret switch that turns on the part of your brain designed for genius. And the more you flee from it, the more you deny yourself the very insights you claim to crave. Where boredom fits. In every great idea you've ever admired, every invention, every breakthrough, every masterpiece, wasn't born in a single flash of brilliance. It followed a process, and whether you realize it or not, you're wired to move through that same process too. Psychologists call it the 4 stages of creativity. Stage 1, preparation. This is where you wrestle with the problem. You study, you gather information, you obsess over the question at hand. It's intense, exhausting, and often frustrating. Stage 2, incubation. This is where most people give up, because it looks like nothing is happening. You step away, you go for a walk, you stare out a window, you feel bored. But here's the truth. Incubation is not idleness. It's the fertile soil where all that preparation sinks in and starts to grow. This is boredom doing its invisible work. Stage 3, illumination. The famous aha moment, the light bulb flash. Suddenly, the answer seems obvious, as if it dropped out of nowhere. But it didn't come from nowhere, it came from incubation, from the work boredom did behind the curtain. Stage 4, verification. This is where you test it, refine it, shape it into something real. The hard grind of turning insight into outcome. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people want the illumination without enduring the incubation. They want the lightning strike without sitting through the storm. But the storm, the silence, the boredom, is the necessary prelude. Skip it, and you starve the process. Think of it like planting a seed. You can water it, give it sunlight, prepare the soil, but once it's underground, you can't rush the sprouting. You wait, you trust. And in that waiting, in that apparent nothingness, the magic happens. Your boredom is that waiting period, the hidden incubation where your unconscious mind is weaving connections too complex for conscious effort. If you escape it every time, you rip the seed from the soil before it has a chance to grow. This is why boredom isn't just part of creativity, it's the bridge between effort and insight. Without it, the process collapses. With it, breakthroughs become inevitable. The only question is whether you're willing to endure the silence long enough to let genius emerge. Historical and anecdotal evidence. You don't have to take theory on faith. History has already revealed the truth. The greatest leaps in human thought didn't happen in crowded offices or bustling labs. They happened in moments of silence, solitude, and yes, boredom. Take Archimedes. He didn't shout "Eureka" while buried in scrolls or lecturing in the academy. It struck him in the bath, a moment of idleness. His mind, unoccupied, suddenly connected dots that had been simmering in the background. That's incubation in action. Or Isaac Newton. When Cambridge closed during the Great Plague, he retreated into isolation, away from structured learning, away from distraction. And it was in that solitude, wandering in gardens, staring at the falling apple, that he conceived the law of gravity. Would Newton have reached the same insight if he had been endlessly busy, forever stimulated? Probably not. Fast forward to the modern world. Albert Einstein described his theory of relativity not as a product of constant study, but as the fruit of long walks, quiet reflection, and daydreaming. He once said, "Creativity is the residue of time wasted." He knew what you resist. What looks like idleness is often the birthplace of revolution. Even today, creators echo the same pattern. Writers report breakthroughs while staring out windows. Tech innovators speak of ideas arriving in the shower. Musicians hum their greatest riffs while pacing empty rooms. What unites these stories isn't frantic activity, it's the embrace of empty space. And yet, you live in an age terrified of that space. Archimedes had no TikTok. Newton had no Netflix. Einstein had no endless feed of notifications. They were forced to sit with silence. And genius bloomed there. You, on the other hand, have to choose it, which makes it harder, but also more powerful. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Boredom has always been the hidden stage of genius. The only difference is that today, most people never reach it, because they never give silence a chance to speak. So when you feel that restlessness creep in, you're standing in the same doorway Archimedes, Newton, and Einstein once stood in. The question is whether you'll walk through it or slam it shut with another distraction. Why it's uncomfortable. If boredom is so powerful, why do you resist it so fiercely? Why does a few minutes of silence feel unbearable? Because boredom doesn't just strip away distractions, it strips away your armor. When there's no music, no screen, no noise, you're left face to face with the raw material of your own mind. And that's not always pleasant. In the silence, your fears surface. The doubts you've buried crawl back up. The unresolved questions you've ignored for months or years whisper louder. Am I wasting my life? Why haven't I started that project? What if I'm not enough? These thoughts sit patiently in the background, waiting for the moment your defenses drop. And boredom drops them. That's why you reach for your phone. Not because you're curious about someone else's brunch photo, but because the silence feels like a mirror, and you don't want to look too closely. Add to this the biological trap. Your brain has been rewired for easy dopamine. Every notification, every scroll, every flashing video delivers a hit. Quick, effortless, pleasurable. But boredom. Boredom offers no instant reward. It's delayed gratification in its purest form, the gym for your mind. And just like the gym, the first reps feel awkward, heavy, even painful. That's why it feels unbearable at first. Because you're withdrawing from constant stimulation. You're asking your brain to sit still when it's addicted to motion. But here's the paradox. That discomfort is the very threshold you must cross. It's not a sign something's wrong. It's proof you're stepping into the territory where real creativity lives. Think of boredom like the burn in your muscles when you work out. Unpleasant? Yes. But also the very sensation that signals growth. Skip the burn, and you stay weak. Skip boredom, and your mind stays shallow. So the next time silence feels suffocating, remember this: that unease isn't the enemy. It's the entry ticket, the toll you pay to access the deeper parts of yourself, the parts that can generate insight, originality, even genius. Most people will always run from it, but if you can learn to sit in it, to endure it, to lean into it, you'll unlock a level of creativity and clarity that distraction will never deliver. How to harness productive boredom. It's one thing to understand boredom as a hidden power. It's another to actually use it. Because unless you create space for it, your environment will drown it out every single time. So how do you turn boredom from an enemy into an ally? You start with practice. 1. Schedule boredom. Yes, actually schedule it. Block out 5 to 15 minutes a day where you do nothing. No phone, no music, no screens, just you and silence. At first it will feel awkward, even unbearable, but that discomfort is the training ground. Like lifting weights, your tolerance strengthens over time. 2. Use mundane tasks. Stop seeing chores as wasted time, washing dishes, folding laundry, walking without earbuds. These are goldmines. They occupy your body just enough to free your mind. This is incubation in disguise. It's why so many ideas arrive while showering or driving. The monotony opens the door to the default mode network. 3. Capture the sparks. Boredom will deliver insights when you least expect them. If you don't catch them, they vanish. Keep a notebook nearby, or a simple notes app. The point is to treat your mind like a radio. When the signal comes through, you need to record it before it fades. 4. Redefine the discomfort. Stop labeling boredom as bad. Start seeing it as a threshold. That restless itch, that's the muscle burn of your creativity warming up. The more you welcome it, the less power it has over you. 5. Build gradual resistance. Don't expect to meditate in silence for an hour tomorrow. Start small. 1 bus ride without your phone, 1 meal without a podcast, 1 walk with nothing but your thoughts. Every rep strengthens your capacity for depth. Here's the secret most people miss. You don't need to carve out endless hours of silence to tap into genius. Even micro moments, 2 minutes at a red light, 5 minutes waiting in line, can become portals if you let them. The difference is whether you instinctively escape or deliberately endure. And over time, something shifts. What once felt unbearable starts to feel alive. Your thoughts stretch, ideas connect. The silence stops being threatening and starts being fertile. That's when you realize boredom was never the enemy. It was always the teacher. The truth is simple. Genius doesn't come from doing more, it comes from making room. And boredom is the room your brain has been begging for. A new mindset. So here you are, standing at the crossroads between 2 paths. On one side, the familiar road of distraction, endless scrolling, constant noise, a life stitched together from fleeting dopamine hits. Comfortable, yes, but shallow. A mind that never sits still, never learns what it's capable of. On the other side, discomfort, silence, that uneasy stretch of boredom you've spent years avoiding. It feels empty, threatening, even pointless. But in reality, it's the doorway, the place where your unconscious begins its hidden work, the soil where seeds of insight take root, the crucible of genius. Boredom is not proof that life is meaningless. It's proof that your brain is searching for more meaning. It's not wasted time. It's the preparation for your most important discoveries. It's not a void. It's a signal. And here's the shift. The next time boredom hits, you don't have to run. You can pause, breathe, sit with it. Because now you know the truth. Boredom isn't the enemy of genius. It's the uncomfortable link that makes genius possible. Think about it. The very moments you try hardest to escape, those restless silences, could be the birthplace of your next breakthrough. The difference between staying stuck in shallow waters and discovering the depth you didn't know you had. So, what happens if you ignore this? You'll keep numbing, keep scrolling, keep silencing the part of your brain built for connection, creativity, and clarity. You'll trade your genius for distraction, and you'll never even notice what you lost. But if you embrace it, even for a few minutes a day, you'll begin to notice something. ideas surfacing, connections forming, a sense of clarity returning. You'll start to feel that silence is not empty at all, it's full of possibility. The choice is yours. Escape boredom and stay ordinary, or lean into it and unlock the extraordinary. Because on the other side of boredom, your genius is waiting.